but is built upon moral foundation and character, as it is said and believed, determines the strength of a nation. Family values also determines the kinds of leadership a nation produces, because charity begins at home, as it is said and believed. When leaders of nation reverence God, honor justice, protect truth, a nation emerges victorious when its leaders honor justice, do not compromise justice, and upholds truth. That nation is bound to succeed. When we look at the histories of nations like Singapore, Malaysia, China, South Korea, and nations like Finland and other countries have made a difference in few decades. Today, so many people travel all across the nations in Africa to go to Dubai. That was a desert some few decades ago. But through leadership, visionary leadership, and selfless leadership, Dubai has become a place that attracts people from all nations of our world and from all continents. Where people go, they feel safe to go in there, invest, shop, and do things. In Proverbs 29 and verse 18, the Bible said, where there is no vision, a people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he. Vision simply means a sense of direction, clarity, advanced knowledge. Having a direction about where we are going. A nation and a people, a society, a community, and a civilization without vision is believed will wander in the wilderness, as Israel wandered in the wilderness, ladies and gentlemen, for 40 years in the wilderness. Where there is no vision, it's believed that people live carelessly and they walk aimlessly. We need a national vision, and not just talking about a national vision, but a national vision where all stakeholders are involved in and see to the implementation of it to allow for continuity. Where there is no national vision, the people become victims of crisis. Victims of crisis. It is said and believed that India have a national vision of 100 years. China has a national vision of 100 years and it's been implemented. And nations like Dubai, South Korea, and others have national vision. It is believed that unity enhances the development of a people, a citizen, a country, and a civilization. Jesus said the other day, where there is no unity, he said, the nation and the people can accomplish nothing. For the Bible says that a kingdom, a nation, a house, a people, a civilization divided against itself come to ruin. Therefore, it is believed, and I say, that we are always better together than divided. Together, we can achieve what one cannot achieve. For the Holy Scriptures declare that one shall put 1,000 to flight, and two shall put 10,000 to flight. If one can put 1,000 to flight, then it is believed that two, therefore, is supposed to put 2,000 to flight, if we are looking at addition. But God said, if I find synergy, unity, togetherness, instead of addition, I'll give you multiplication. And instead of two putting 2,000 to flight, I will give you the capability to put 10,000 to flight instead of putting 2,000 to flight. And therefore, I would like to leave you with these thoughts. Few principles. Number one, principles. Righteousness. Doing things the right way. Love for country. President Kufuor said the other day that the problem of Africa is not corruption, but the problem of Africa is the love of country, is the lack of love for country. For you don't take advantage and destroy what you love. And therefore, if we will begin to love country, our people and citizens like never before, Africa will rise to its potential and make all the difference we can make. President Mandela said the other day, it sounds impossible until it is done. Then he said, and I quote, the other day, it is never too late to do the right thing. I believe that it is never too late for this House and all the honorable speakers of Parliament and members of Parliament that are gathered here from all over the continent of Africa. There is no reason why our continent cannot achieve its goals. We are the most richest continent in minerals all across the nations of the world. But nations don't become great or mighty through military strength or power, through its gold, diamonds, oil, or mineral resources, but they become strong, prosperous by fulfilling and following deliberately the principles of doing right by country and by citizens. Righteousness, doing things the right way, vision, having clarity, a sense of direction. Sovereign nations must know who they are, where they are, and where they are going. And it is vision that tells sovereign nations who we are, where we are going, and what we want to achieve as a people, a civilization, or a nation. Love for country is required. It's a necessary ingredient that irrespective of our resources, our gold, our oil, and our minerals, if we fail to love country, we will achieve nothing. Visionary leadership, leaders who have a dream and a vision, like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah said in his days, that the independence and freedom of the nation of Ghana is meaningless until it is connected to the total freedom of the continent of Africa. Our independence will be meaningless. It stands to reason, as it is said, that together we are better than when we are divided. If we as a people today, in our deliberations, we realize our need of one another, that together we are better than when we are alone. And everything that divides us is an enemy to our progress. Anything that sets us apart from each other. No one nation political party's manifesto can develop and prosper a nation. As much as manifestos of political parties are good, the enemy of better is good. And we need to go past good to the place of having what is better for the good of our society, our people, our community, and generations that are yet unborn. In conclusion, I say that I have a dream. I have a dream that in my lifetime, Africa will be so developed by principles that works for us, not by principles that works for others, but by principles that works for us as we look at our culture and as individual sovereign countries, that no son and no daughter of the continent of Africa will queue for visas to go to any other nations for greener pastures. But our sons and our daughters will work and labor in our own land and our countries and achieve their dreams and goals, fulfill their desires and destiny, succeed and prosper within their own countries and their own borders, and not go to any other country to seek greener pastures. I have a dream that our young men and women will not be scattered across the nations of our world, but Africa will rise to the occasion to fulfill its God-given destiny and mandate. This is a dream I look forward to see, praying for Mr. Speaker, all the speakers of the various parliaments that have gathered here, and the honorable members of the different parliaments, that you will be empowered with divine capabilities and the inspiration to fulfill the dream, the goals, the desires of the citizens for which you were given the mandate to sit in this august office of Parliament. Shall we pray? Shall we stand? Our Heavenly Father, in conclusion, we pray that everything that is said and done here will fulfill purpose and destiny for all the citizens of the various communities we all represent as members of this great house. Let history be made, and decades from today, let the changes that will take place here and will be effected in all the continents of Africa be on record. That once upon a time, we did gather here in the nation of Ghana. The deliberations, choices, and decisions that were taken and executed was part of the reason for the great changes we see all across the continent. May God bless Africa. May Africa thrive and flourish. And may we see the dreams and the desires and the expectation of the youth and of generations to come fulfilled in our lifetime. This we pray and ask for with thanksgiving. Amen.
Indeed, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, after many years of emceeing programs, today indeed I have a reason to say, shall we give the pastor a round of applause instead of an amen? He is not called a papa and celebrated for the immense leadership and mentorship that he makes in the impact of many in Ghana for nothing. He is indeed the founder of the Christian Action Faith Ministries, a renowned spiritual leader in the globe, and a voice that has inspired many nations. Please indulge me. Let's give our Papa another round of applause. My name is Al-Hassan Suhini, and it is my pleasure now to invite the second Deputy Speaker of Ghana's Parliament. He is serving as second Deputy Speaker the second time. The first time he was an independent member of Parliament for the Fomina constituency. Now he is a member of the opposition, but serving as Deputy Speaker of Ghana's Parliament. He's a lawyer and a very, very good friend to all his colleagues and people in politics in general. My pleasure now, ladies and gentlemen, to invite Honorable Andrew Asiama Amwako. Please, a round of applause for him.
The Right Honorable Speakers and Deputy Speakers of Parliament, Honorable Chief of Staff at the Office of the President, representative of the Council of State, honorable members of Parliament, distinguished representatives of African legislatures, traditional and religious leaders, members of the diplomatic corps, policy experts and civil society leaders, youth and student representatives, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is with profound pride and deep respect that I welcome you all to Accra for the 4th Africa Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty and Values. On behalf of the Right Honorable Alban Sumana Kingsford Babin, Speaker of Parliament of Ghana, the Planning Committee, and the Ghanaian people, I extend our warmest hospitality to all delegates and esteemed guests gathered for this all-important continental summit. To our brothers and sisters who have traveled from across Africa and beyond, we say Akwaba. Welcome to Ghana, the physical and symbolic center of the world, where the Greenwich Meridian meets the equator. From this unique crossroads, we proudly host you for a defining conversation that speaks directly to the hearts of our shared identity enduring values, and collective sovereignty. On behalf of the Right Honorable Speaker and the organizing committee, I sincerely apologize for the rescheduling of the 4th Africa Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty and Values, which was originally communicated to you to have taken place from 27th to 30th May 2026 to the current date, which is from today to 6th June 2026 due to the observance of the Eddie Ada. We also apologize for the technical challenges encountered with the conference website, which necessitated the temporary suspension of online registration to ensure a smooth registration process. The committee regrets any inconvenience caused and appreciates your understanding, patience, and cooperation. The theme for this year's conference, and I quote, consolidating parliamentary consensus, advancing the African Charter on Family, Sovereignty and Values, unquote, captures the urgency and gravity of our shared mission. It serves as a clarion call that the time has come to transition from discussion to consolidation, from shared concern to unified commitment, and from broad principles to concrete Africa framework capable of guiding policy and legislation. We are not beginning this journey today. Rather, we are building upon a formidable foundation laid over the past 3 years. The inaugural conference, held in Entebbe, Uganda in 2023, focused on protecting African culture and family values. The second edition, also hosted by Uganda, in 2024 deepened inter-parliamentary collaboration on these vital issues. The third conference, which was again hosted by Uganda in 2025, advanced our efforts under the theme, and I quote, towards an African Charter and family values and sovereignty, unquote. Those rich deliberations culminated in a draft charter, provided a robust intellectual, cultural, and legislative baseline for coordinated African response to the emerging pressures on our family systems and national integrity. Today, Ghana is profoundly honored to receive the baton. We gather in Accra not to repeat what has already been established, but to refine, validate, and elevate the work. This 4th conference will consolidate crucial inputs from national parliaments, civil society, faith-based organizations, think tanks, and traditional authorities as Africa takes a decisive steps towards adopting a charter that genuinely reflects our shared responsibilities. Distinguished guests, the family remains the primary institution in our society. Before the school is built, there is the home. Before the state emerges, the family exists. Before formal laws are written, foundational values are instilled through care, discipline, respect, responsibility, and community. When the family is resilient, society thrives. When the family is weakened, the fractures are felt across our educational systems, governance, public morality, social stability, and national development. This is precisely why our deliberations are so urgent. Africa is evolving at an unprecedented pace. Technology, migration, economic pressures, global policy debates, and digital platforms are fundamentally reshaping how young people perceive themselves, their families, and their societies. We cannot pretend these sweeping changes do not exist and their societies. However, we must absolutely not allow Africa's future to be dictated without Africa-defined voice. As our founding president, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah reminded us, and I quote, "It is clear that we must find an African solution to our problems, and that this can only be found in African unity," unquote. That statement speaks directly to the animating spirit of this conference. The complex issues before us cannot be resolved by a single nation. They demand steadfast cooperation among parliaments, governance, traditional leaders, faith communities, educators, and civil society. Furthermore, the former president and revered statesman of Tanzania, His Excellency Julius Nyerere, delivered a timeless charge at Ghana's 40th independence anniversary in March 1997. He declared, and I quote, "My plea to the new generation of African leaders and African people: work for unity with the firm conviction that without unity, there is no future for Africa," unquote. As he further observed, on that historic occasion, unity makes it profoundly difficult for Africa and African people to be disregarded or humiliated. These timeless words remind us that sovereignty extends beyond territorial borders. It encompasses the unyielding right of the people to define their own values, protect their indigenous institutions, and participate in global affairs with unwavering dignity. Honorable members, as parliamentarians, we bear a sacred responsibility. Parliament is a crucible where the voice of the people is transformed into the law of the land. It is where national values are debated, safeguarded, and renewed. If the family is the bedrock of society, our legislation must fortify that foundation. If culture carries the souls and memory of people, our policies must never be blind to the culture. If sovereignty is to be meaningful, African nations must deliberate freely and act confidently in defense of their societies. This conference, therefore, challenges us to think deeply and act responsibly. Our agenda features robust discussions on African family systems, cultural preservation, value-based education, youth development, marriage, technology, artificial intelligence, digital governance, and the strategic enforcement of the proposed charter. These are not isolated topics. They are inextricably linked to Africa's very survival and prosperity. To the students and young people present, I say this with absolute conviction. You are not mere spectators in this dialogue. You are central to it. Nelson Mandela once said, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." Yet true education must do more than issuing certificates. It must forge character, courage, wisdom, innovation, and a spirit of service. Africa needs young people who are globally competent, yet fiercely culturally grounded. We need students who can master science, technology, entrepreneurship, and governance, whilst remaining firmly anchored in dignity, discipline, and service to their communities. The future will not be built by those who merely inherit values, but by those who understand, live, and leverage them to elevate society. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let this Accra conference be remembered as a gathering of profound purpose. Let it be the definitive moment when Africa moves closer to giving institutional expression to its sovereign aspirations. Let it be remembered not merely for the eloquence of the speeches, but for the consensus built, the partnership strengthened, and the commitment forged. I commend the visionary founding members of this initiative, our esteemed colleagues from Uganda, who hosted the first 3 editions, all participating parliaments, and every partner who has contributed to this journey. I also express my deepest appreciation to the planning committee, our technical teams, protocol officers, and everyone who has worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make this historic summit possible. As chairperson of the planning committee, I formally invite all participants to engage actively, speak frankly, listen respectfully, and work constructively. May our deliberations be thoughtful, may our decisions be collegious, may our unity be permanently strengthened, and may this conference advance an African charter that protects our family, defends our sovereignty, and inspires generations yet unborn. Once again, I welcome you warmly to Accra. I thank you for your attention.
Shall we give the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament of Ghana and Chair of the Planning Committee, Honorable Andrew Samuako Esiama, another round of applause, please. It is time to take solidarity messages. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have a number lined up. I therefore will wish to at this point invite the Speaker of the Parliament of Morocco, Honorable Mohamed Giat, to share a solidarity message with us. Please, let's keep it going whilst he takes the podium. Thank you very much.
Excellences, Monsieur le Président de l'Assemblée du Ghana et chers amis, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les Présidents, honorables parlementaires et chers collègues, permettez-moi tout d'abord d'exprimer ma profonde gratitude aux autorités de la République du Ghana, ainsi qu'aux organisateurs de cet important sommet, pour leur accueil chaleureux et les conditions remarquables offertes à la réussite de nos travaux. Nous nous réunissons aujourd'hui à Accra autour d'un sujet qui touche au cœur même de nos sociétés et de notre avenir collectif. Au-delà de la diversité de nos langues, de nos cultures, de nos traditions et de nos systèmes juridiques, une certitude nous rassemble, c'est la famille. Et oui, la famille demeure le premier espace de transmission des valeurs, le fondement de la solidarité sociale est le socle, comme a dit mon collègue, de la stabilité de nos nations. À travers elle se transmettent l'identité, la responsabilité, le respect, l'éducation et le sentiment d'appartenance à une communauté.
To a community with a destiny. We are facing a quick change. Protecting the family will not be a thing of the past.
Il constitue au contraire un enjeu
It rather constitutes
pour l'avenir.
a stake
Il ne peut y avoir
for the
de
future.
développement durable
We
sans
cannot talk about sustainable development without social
de
cohesion.
stabilité politique sans équilibre.
We cannot talk about political stability without balance. Or we cannot have economic development without really mobilizing our human capital.
Aujourd'hui, à un moment
Africa
décisif,
is at a crossroad,
notre
a
continent,
decisive moment
c'est
in
vrai,
history.
connaît une dynamique
The continent,
démographique
it's true that
exceptionnelle,
we have a high
une
demographic,
urbanisation accélérée,
but we also
une intégration
face a
économique
good
de
urbanization.
plus en plus affirmée et réelle.
But we have a more and
Ces
more
évolutions constituent
affirmed
d'immenses
development.
opportunités pour nous.
These are immense opportunities
impose
we can
également
tap in.
Une responsabilité
However, it
collective,
comes with a collective responsibility,
celle de préserver nos repères,
that of preserving
de protéger nos valeurs et de renforcer
and protecting
les
our values,
institutions
strengthening
Bien sûr, la
our
cohésion de nos
institutions,
sociétés.
and that actually makes sure that our
et la
society
principale institution,
remain cohesion.
c'est la famille.
And of course, the main institution to do that
Le défi
is the family.
aujourd'hui
The
n'est pas
challenge today
de choisir entre
is not to
modernité
choose
et
between
identité.
modernization and identity.
Le véritable défi consiste
The main
à
challenge
construire
is
une modernité africaine
to
fidèle
establish an
à nos
African
réalités, à notre
modernization
héritage.
that
Une
reflects
modernité
our
qui nous
heritage. Modernization that looks
C'est
like
dans cette
us.
recherche permanente d'équilibre
So
que
it is in
s'inscrit
this constant search for
l'expérience sans fausse
equilibrium or
modestie,
balance
l'expérience du
that
royaume du Maroc.
we have
Maroc aujourd'hui
to share with you
a
the
engagé
experience of the
d'importantes
Kingdom of Morocco.
réformes
The Kingdom of
visant à
Morocco today
renforcer la
has
protection
actually
sociale,
set
promouvoir l'égalité des chances
up a lot of reform to promote
soutenir
family cohesion and also
l'institution familiale
sustain
dans
the
le
family
strict
institution
respect des
within
constantes nationales
a
et
strict
aussi
respect
de
of
ses engagements internationaux.
international
La réforme
engagement.
du code de la famille, il faut le reconnaître,
the reform
difficile,
of the family code.
très difficile.
I must acknowledge it is challenging,
Mais
very
illustre
challenging.
cette volonté constante
But this only shows
d'adapter
the
notre
constant
cadre
will
juridique
to adapt
aux
our
évolutions
legal
de la
framework
société,
to
tout en
the
préservant
evolving
les fondements
within society
qui garantissent
while
sa
preserving
cohésion
the
sociale.
foundations and guaranteing
collègues,
its cohesion. Dear colleagues,
La charte africaine des valeurs familiales et de la
African
souveraineté
Charter on
représente
Family
bien
Values and
plus
Sovereignty is much
qu'un
more
document
than
de référence.
a reference
Elle
document.
traduit l'ambition d'une
It
Afrique
translates the ambition
qui
of
réfléchit
an
par elle-même,
Africa that
qui
thinks
affirme ses choix
by itself,
et qui construit ses
affirms
réponses
its
à
choices,
partir
and
de
also
ses propres réalités.
provide its own solution to its reality.
Notre responsabilité en tant que parlementaires,
Our responsibility
et
as
d'accompagner
a
cette ambition.
parliamentarian is to help
nous avons le devoir
that ambition to see the
de
day of light,
transformer les principes
It is our duty
obtenus en politique publique,
to
comme a dit
translate
mes collègues.
this principle into political
Les
pillars, just
engagements
as
que
my
nous
colleague
allons
said.
tenir aujourd'hui en
The
réforme
commitment
concrète
that we have today
et les
will have to
aspirations
speak
de nos peuples
to
en
concrete reform
résultats tangibles.
and also
C'est un
give us
devoir
tangible
et une
results.
responsabilité.
This is a task and a responsibility at the same time.
L'Afrique n'est pas un simple espace d'application.
Africa
de
is not
modèles
just a place where we have to
Rien
apply
ne doit être
systems that were
L'Afrique
taught
est un
elsewhere.
continent porteur
No, Africa
d'une histoire,
is a
d'une vision,
continent that
d'une
bears a
contribution
history,
singulière.
that has a vision, that has a
au
singular
débat
contribution
mondial.
to
Et
the
on doit en être
world
fier.
debate, and we should be proud of that.
Notre responsabilité collective
Our collective
est de faire
responsibility
entendre cette voix
is
avec
to make
confiance,
sure that that voice is
sérénité,
heard
aussi avec
through
responsabilité.
serenity and also through our shared
C'est
responsibility.
dans cet esprit que le
So
royaume
it
du
is
Maroc
within this
réaffirme aujourd'hui
that the Kingdom of Morocco hereby reaffirms its commitment, constant commitment towards a strong, sovereign
de son
Africa
destin. Chers collègues,
that holds its own destiny
n'a pas
in its hand.
vocation à choisir entre la modernité.
Dear colleague, as I said, Africa does not have to choose between its identity and modernization.
A démontré au monde
Africa
que les deux
must show the world that both can go together,
et on en est capable.
and we are capable of doing that.
Chers collègues,
Dear
Excellences,
colleagues,
je
Excellencies,
forme le vœu que nos travaux à Accra contribuent
I hope that
à
our
renforcer notre coopération
deliberations in Accra
parlementaire
will
et à
contribute to
faire
strengthen
émerger
our parliamentary
une
collaboration
vision
and also
africaine
bring us
partagée.
to
Ensemble,
give life to a
faisons de
shared
cette
vision,
charte
shared African
un
vision.
instrument
Together,
d'unité,
let's make
de
this
confiance
charter
et
an
d'espérance
instrument of unity,
les générations
trust
africaines présentes
for the
et futures.
present African
Et
generation
j'espère
and the future
la
ones.
conférence
And I hope
d'Accra
that the
soit
Accra
une
conference
conférence décisionnelle. Je vous
remains
remercie.
a decisional one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please let's give it up one more time for the Speaker of the Parliament of Morocco, Honorable Mohamed Giat, passionately calling upon all of us to adopt this charter and to make the African dream a reality. I know many Ghanaian adults like myself in times like this regret skipping our French classes when we were in school. But merci beaucoup, nonetheless. We move on now to the Kingdom of Eswatini to take a solidarity message from Honorable Lindiwe Gwebu Dlamini, who is the President of the Senate of the Kingdom of Eswatini. Please, a round of applause for her.
The representative of His Excellency, the Right Honorable President of the Republic of Ghana, the Right Honorable Speaker of the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, the Honorable Alban Bagbin, the Honorable founding members of the African Inter-Parliamentary Conference, the conference chairperson, honorable members of parliament from all nations represented in this august conference, representatives of partner organizations and friends to the African family, religious leaders, allow me to acknowledge His Eminence, the Archbishop Duncan Williams. I bring warm greetings and solidarity from His Majesty King Mswati III, the government of Eswatini and the parliament, including the people of the Kingdom of Eswatini. On behalf of my delegation, I'd like to extend our appreciation for the warm hospitality we've received since our arrival to this vibrant city where modern energy meets a rich culture. We thank the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Allow me to specifically thank His Excellency the President, because without his blessing, we would not have been able to convene in this manner. I therefore thank the organizing team that has put this conference together. Please permit me to also honor His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, who has successfully hosted this conference for the past 3 years. This work has been started on a foundation of unity, true equality and respect across our nations, bolstered by the core values we share enriched by our diverse cultural identities. This is what we stand for as Africans. It is wonderful that this conference is happening shortly after the continental commemoration of Africa Month, while the hearts and minds of many on the African continent are still reflecting on what sets us apart as Africans. I extend our deepest gratitude to the OACPS, EU Joint Parliamentary Assembly, for the confidence placed in the Kingdom of Eswatini to host this conference. I also want to thank all parliaments that sent their members to come to the Kingdom. Africa must never forget that our continent is truly favored by God. Africa is rich in natural resources, holding over 30% of the world's known mineral reserves, along with major deposits of oil, natural gas, and 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land. The United Nations Environmental Programme acknowledges that the continent is critical to global modern technology, holding 50% of the world's cobalt needed for EV batteries and 40% of its gold. It has also the largest reserves of diamond and uranium, yet Africans remain economically disadvantaged due to exploitative contracts, foreign control, and lack of value addition. We recognize that we live in a global community and international cooperation is critical. However, this must not be at the expense of our sovereignty. Dignity and development priorities should also be considered. To protect our God-given heritage, we must stand in solidarity as African leaders and nations. My own country, the Kingdom of Eswatini, under the wise leadership of His Majesty King Mswati III, has steadfastly affirmed and held on to its cultural identity and core values while operating under a dual legal system, which fosters transparency and effectiveness of traditional structures, as well as effectiveness of the legislative, judicial, and executive arms of government. Along with other African nations, the people of Eswatini believe in mutual respect, honor, dignity, faith, interdependence, family, culture, tradition as core tenets of solidarity. Therefore, Eswatini stands in solidarity with this fourth conference because we understand that attacks on the African family are not abstract debates. They manifest as rising divorce rates, child neglect, the erosion of parental authority, and cultural confusion among our youth. Our role as parliamentarians is not to impose a single model, but to protect the right of African societies to define family in a way that reflects our history, our faith, and our lived realities. That is sovereignty. Sovereignty, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, means the power of Africans, the African people, to legislate for ourselves without fear or pressure. It means Parliament, not foreign capitals, decide what is best for the African children. Notwithstanding, we note that the call for solidarity does not come without opposition. As we speak, the voice of criticism, slander, and misinformation is loud. It would seem the very idea of Africans choosing to unite to protect their identity and sovereignty is frightening to those who seek to promote the anti-life, anti-family agenda. We have been accused of working against development. To this, we invite the dissenting voices to review in detail the language of the African Charter to identify the substantive issues in this document instead of making unsubstantiated claims. Honorable delegates, we find ourselves to be gatekeepers for our nations at a time when the world is highly influenced by progressive woke ideology driven by nefarious entities. Anchored in secular humanism, these dangerous progressive ideologies are influencing global politics and polluting the hearts and minds of African children and youth. Honorable Parliamentarians, the family is Africa's first parliament, as the Deputy Speaker rightly said. It is where values are debated, character is shaped, and responsibility is developed. Long before constitutions were written, our grandparents governed homes with Ubuntu, meaning I am because we are, expressing respect for elders, communal care and dignity. The family remains the basic unit of sovereignty. When the family is strong, the nation is stable. When the family is weakened, society bears the cost. In assessing the position of a family in raising a child, I will refer to the principle of subsidiarity, which was coined by an 18th century philosopher, Thomas Aquinas. According to this principle, decisions, authority, and problem solving should be handled at the most local level possible. Central authority should only perform tasks that cannot be effectively completed at a more local and intermediate level. This means that decision-making about a child is best left to the family, and it should be escalated if and only if the local hierarchies, that is, immediate family, extended family, community, church, are unable to manage. This is how societies and civilizations have been developed over the centuries, and they shall continue to flourish if we uphold the values of family. It is therefore encouraging to note that the African Charter is a positive and commendable mechanism to promote respect, protection, and strengthening of the African family. It is a document of self-determination. It reflects our common cause, shared interest, and sense of responsibility to protect our heritage, our sovereignty, our common values, morals, and religious freedoms at a time when they are most at risk of attack. It is my prayer that we will expand the vision of the African Charter to usher in a continental decade of protection and strengthening of the family, African values, and sovereignty. In fact, I propose a millennium marked by concrete continental, regional, and national level legislative and policy infrastructure to protect and uphold sovereignty and the dignity of the family. We are here to harmonize our voices, to learn from each other, and to live with draft laws, motions, and policies that we take back to our chambers. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, let this fourth conference be remembered as the moment when African parliaments stopped reacting and started shaping. Let us advance this charter with confidence, not with division, but with unity. The world is watching to see if Africa can govern its own values. I believe we can. On behalf of the Kingdom of Eswatini, we pledge our full support to this process. We commit to take the outcomes of this conference back home, to engage our communities, to legislate with courage. May the good Lord bless you all, and thank you for your kind attention.
Please, another round of applause. Indeed, values are not imposed, they are inherited, questioned, and then chosen. And that's the sovereignty of the human heart. Thank you once again for those beautiful words. We now head to the Republic of Chad, where we have the First Deputy Speaker, Dr. Hudenga David Ngarimandin, who is the First Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly of Chad, to share a solidarity message with us. Please, a round of applause for Dr. Hudenga David.
Très honorable président de l'Assemblée, président du Parlement du Ghana, honorable président des assemblées parlementaires d'Afrique, mesdames et messieurs les parlementaires, chefs de délégation, messieurs les leaders traditionnels,
traditional leader,
chers experts du monde interparlementaire,
dear experts from the Inter-Parliamentary world, distinguished
c'est à la fois
guests,
avec une grande
ladies and
fierté
gentlemen, is with great pride and also going back to ancestral roots that I take the floor during this fourth Inter-Parliamentary conference to highlight Chad's contribution on a thematic that is really important, namely that on African values and then sovereignty. Before I go on with my speech, kindly permit me to express our entire gratitude to this August Assembly and mainly to the President of the Ghanaian Parliament for really inviting the Parliament of Chad to partake in this conference. And I want to tell the Right Honorable greetings of the President of the Chad Parliament, who really wanted to be here, but due to other important duties, he is not able to travel to Ghana. I also want to seize the opportunity to say that the Parliament, through my person, wishes to thank the host country, Ghana, namely, for the exceptional quality of their hospitality. I really want to thank the organizing committee for all the amenities they made available for us to have a very pleasant stay. Honorable parliamentarians, we know we have various parliaments come and go, but each parliament has its specificity. And we are not talking about a particular topic. Coming to this fourth conference, I think that this fourth conference will be considered as the most important because it gives us the opportunity to not only strengthen the existing cooperation between our various institutions, but also to share our opinion or perspective on emerging issues such as our values and the sovereignty of our nations. Indeed, Africa values on solidarity, the respect of elders, are very important. The knowledge of all this knowledge can be the basis of our continental sovereignty. By inculcating these values in our governance method, this could be a step forward instead of using the imported or the adopted approaches from outside. African countries should be able to freely define their priorities, protect their resources, and also promote development models that reflect their realities as well as their aspirations. I really want to congratulate everyone on the effort that have been put forth so far and the initiative by this August conference. If the targeted objective through this charter is to protect our familiar system, our cultural identity, and also the sovereignty of our nation, faced with emerging threats. It means that the said charter will raise issues vis-à-vis the rich history of Africa and also certain international engagement or international commitment that we've already signed. However, numerous other of communication. So the sovereignty itself is faced with certain limitations. It's good for us to make sure that all the fragilities observed at every level, be it the legal, economical, and development aspects. My country, Chad, we have a saying, which is we have a saying about life. And of course, as African people, we are better placed to measure the values of our people. So Chad has been able to fight for its dignity and preserve its sovereignty. Also, part of the first draft was by the head of state. So this is part of initiative whereby Chad put in place a committee in order to reopen its history, in order to really find its true identity. Certain African nations have already done that, but I believe it's good for us to rewrite our own history. As parliamentary, as members of parliament, we need to be courageous in order to preserve our cultural values while adapting to the evolving world through laws that reflect the spirit of our nation. To conclude, ladies and gentlemen, looking at all the people here gathered, I don't doubt that this fourth conference will be a significant
d'une charte dans laquelle se reconnaîtront tous les Africains et autour de laquelle
Africans will be recognized and will also adopt this charter. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Please, another round of applause for Dr. David Odinga. Thank you very much for those thought-provoking words shared there. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the conference organizers are currently arranging to put up notices on the way to connect to the internet. But if you can't wait, please just listen to this. The one to connect to is AIPC, that is A for apple, I for ice cream, hope that doesn't get you hungry, P for pineapple, and C for Coke. FS, so abbreviation of family, FS 2026. FS, so it's AIPC FS 2026. And the password is Africa. Africa starts with capital A, Africa family, family to capital F, 2026, and an apostrophe. Africa Family 2026 apostrophe. No, sorry, exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Thank you. So, but they are currently working to put the notices up, but if you just want to connect to the internet, that is how to do that. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we'll pick the last solidarity message. This time from Burundi, where we have Honorable Clotilde Kapimbari, who is the second Deputy Speaker of the Senate in Burundi. Please, a round of applause for her as she takes the podium. This way. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed.
Très honorable Président du Parlement de la République du Ghana, honorable Président des chambres parlementaires, honorables parlementaires, distingués participants, Mesdames et Messieurs, bon après-midi. De prime abord, Nous rendons grâce à Dieu qui nous a permis d'arriver ici à Accra, où nous avons été accueillis avec tous les égards. Nous remercions vivement le président du Parlement du Ghana pour son invitation à participer à cette conférence, ainsi que le peuple ghanéen pour son accueil chaleureux et son hospitalité légendaire. Vos Excellences, distingués délégués, permettez-moi de vous transmettre les salutations chaleureuses du très honorable président du Sénat du Burundi, très honorable Gervais Ndirakobucha, qui m'a mandaté pour le représenter à cette conférence. Il formule ses vœux de plein succès pour cette 4e conférence interparlementaire sur les valeurs de la famille et la souveraineté. Les pays africains peuvent contribuer à consolider le consensus parlementaire et à faire progresser la charte africaine des valeurs familiales et de la souveraineté à plusieurs niveaux.
African values. This should be done at various levels, especially at the institutional level, the diplomatic level, legislative, and also social cultural. Under such circumstances, countries should strengthen parliamentary ownership, where Parliament can actually have a regular debate on family values, cultural sovereignty, political culture, and harmonize this with values that are part of the Charter. They should also develop parliamentary diplomacy model to the level of African Union, regional community that we are part of, to defend our cultural approach. We need to improve an inclusive approach in order to have a huge consensus. Our countries should also prioritize dialogue instead of confrontation. We should also put forth the protection of the family, culture, and sovereignty while respecting international commitment in development and social cohesion. Dear parliamentary colleagues, I cannot end without sharing with you that the main challenge of our dear African continent is to find a fine balance between African sovereignty, international commitment, and also the expectations of external partners. I call on you to make sure that we lead these family values and also sovereignty to safeguard our family. Long live Africa. Thank you for your kind attention.
Please, thank you very much. Let's give the honorable member another round of applause. Most grateful for those thoughtful, thought-provoking words shared with us. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is Africa. This is Ghana, and this is Accra. And I'm sure that this conference will not be complete, and you all agree with me, if we do not identify ourselves, especially through our music. It is on this note that I crave your indulgence to invite, to allow for a musical interlude as we prepare for the stakes to go higher, as we prepare for the keynote address. Please let us have a musical interlude at this point. the talking drums, ladies and gentlemen. Accompanied by dancers doing a dance known as the Bamaya dance. It's a dance that originates from the northern part of Ghana. It is called the Bamaya dance. It was said to have been discovered by a hunter who during his hunt came across dwarfs performing this dance. That was a beautiful performance by the Abibi Gurma from the University of Ghana Performing Arts. Please, a round of applause for the students of the Performing Arts University of Ghana. Dancing Bamaya, as I indicated. It's a dance that is reserved for the gods, they say. It originates from the northern part of Ghana, and it is said that it was discovered by a hunter who went hunting and at night or during the dawn time came across dwarfs. It is for the tales. I don't know how true it is, but returned home with this dance, and it has since been performed at dawn mostly when there are big events held in the north. Another round of applause for the Abibi Gurma of the University of Ghana. Thank you very much for that one. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, once again, my name is Al-Hassan Suhini, and as we prepare to take the keynote address, I, at this point, will want to leave you in the capable hands of my younger brother, Reverend John Ntim Fojo, who is a member of parliament for the Asin South constituency, and also, you know, a very, very vociferous person when it comes to the family values, especially the bill that the Parliament of Ghana has recently considered. Please, a round of applause for my younger brother, Reverend John Ntim Fojo.
Thank you very much, my respected colleague and friend, the Honorable Al-Hassan Suhini, the Member of Parliament for Tamale North and the Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways. The Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, the Chief of Staff, His Eminence, the Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, the distinguished Senate Presidents and Speakers of Parliament across the continent, eminent clergy, the honorable members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. Still in pursuit of family and sovereignty and values of the African continent, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce a distinguished gentleman who is our keynote speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, the extraordinary leader that I introduce to you, the Right Honorable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, is a seasoned legislator of global renown. He has held various leadership roles at global parliamentary platforms, including currently the chairperson of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, IPU, a 50-member African geopolitical group, and a member of the task force to mediate the Russian-Ukrainian war on behalf of the IPU. He is also a member and leader on many global parliamentary platforms, including the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Such an incredible man, risen to the global stage and the national front lines of democracy. He came from a humble beginning in Sambo, a beautiful community in the Upper West region of Ghana, and rose into this distinguished stature. Trained as a lawyer from the University of Ghana and the Ghana Law School, and called to the bar in 1982, he has held the position as a member of parliament since the inception of the fourth Republican democracy in this country. So as a matter of fact, since 1993, at the constitution of the first parliament, the Right Honorable Speaker entering parliament, representing proudly the good people of Nadoli Kalio, has remained in this house in 1993 till now and has never turned back. So he has been a member of parliament from the first all the way to the seventh parliament, and now even in the ninth parliament as the speaker. But all through the distinguished 33-year-long distinguished service, and still counting, he held at various occasions roles as minority leader, and another time when the tables turned became the majority leader, in between having served as cabinet minister, minister for water resources, works and housing, himself a distinguished man and successful family man. He became the deputy speaker of parliament in the 7th Parliament between 2017 and 2020. In 2021, the Right Honourable Speaker made history, rare history, becoming the first Speaker of Parliament to be elected from the opposition party. And that distinguished feat, having been remarkably and creditably discharged between 2021 and 2025 January, won a renewed mandate to continue a second term as the Speaker of Parliament in the 9th Parliament, a very rare feat that very few across the world achieve. The Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament is the chairman of the Speakers and Presidents of African Legislatures, COSPAL. He's been instrumental in shaping Ghana's democracy and parliamentary system, and in recognition of this great feat, the University of Professional Studies Accra in the year 2017 recognized him and awarded him the honoris causa Doctor of Laws. He is respected across the aisle, respected in this country, is noted to be a man of integrity, a principled man, a man who speaks of various shades of opinions without prejudice to stature, without prejudice to status. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a great man who has dedicated most part of his life in serving his country for the betterment of his people. He is a champion of the proper human sexual rights and family values. He is a champion, continental champion on African sovereignty, values and family system, and the president of the African Parliamentary Network Against Corruption, APNAC. Ladies and gentlemen, the Right Honourable Speaker is properly married with children. And it's important that I stress that he's properly married, not to another man, and with children. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure at this point. Let us make welcome the keynote speaker, the Right Honourable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbane.
Please, can we resume your seats? This is some of the problems that I carry on my head. You know, these young ones, they do everything to reduce my market, so that the beautiful ladies here should not be thinking that there is space. I won't compete with you, don't worry. Let me humbly, at least, plead with all of you to give a very hefty applause to all those who have delivered various messages to you before me, starting from our most revered Archbishop Duncan Williams up to the solidarity messages that have been delivered. Please, let's give them an applause. It's right and proper to acknowledge the presence of all of you here, as have been done, and I accordingly, with humility, adopt all the dignitaries that are present, but with particular emphasis on His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who is ably represented here by the Chief of Staff. Please, you are most welcome, and we are happy to have you in our midst. It's really through the efforts of His Excellency, his commitment to the goals of this whole initiative that made him to do everything to be present. And that was what occasioned the postponement of the conference in May to early June. The rest, I'm sure, my good brother, the Chief of Staff, will fill that in to you. I am only going to affirm what has already been said, but it's important for me to take you a bit back to history. This conference reminds me of the All-African People's Conference in 1958 that took place here in Accra at the community center just opposite the Supreme Court building. And there were dignitaries from all over Africa that came to participate in that conference. And such rich, flourishing, beautiful statements as we've just done were delivered. They were all aimed at getting the whole of Africa from the yoke of colonialism. We can say that with the collective efforts of all of them, Africa is now politically free. We are not under any bondage again politically. And the seed was sown here at the All-African People's Conference. I must say that the representation reflects exactly what took place at that time. And so we have a lot of participants from many countries, more importantly, 20 major countries that are present here. We have as major participants representatives from Burkina Faso. It was then called Upper Volta. From Burundi, from Cameroon, from Chad, from the Democratic Republic of Congo, from Eswatini, which our brothers and sisters from the West could not pronounce, and so they decided Swaziland. They couldn't pronounce Eswatini. Then we have Guinea-Bissau, we have Kenya, we have Liberia, we have Madagascar, Malawi, Morocco, Mozambique, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, South Africa, Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia, Zimbabwe, all are gathered here today. We have many other observers, but we are more adorned here by our spiritual, religious, and traditional leaders. I want to acknowledge the presence of all of you, and to, as I said, affirm some of the things that have already been stated, and sometimes add another perspectives. But I will recommend this book to all of you. It's available electronically. You read it as a good, solid foundation of what I just mentioned, and that is going to build your faith to brace yourself up to fight the battle that we are engaged in, to ensure that true families, the sovereignty and values of Africa are entrenched in our continent. It's written by Dr. Susan Williams, a Nobel Peace winner. After he published this, it's not fiction, it's facts. It's facts about no other continent but Africa, the whole Africa. Don't mind the volume. Immediately you start reading it, you can't stop but completing this book. And I have read it like a student. And so if you get my book here, you see that there are lines, there are commentary, and everything here. Very good, and I recommend it to all of you. Let me now say it is really an honor and a great privilege for me to stand here to be given the opportunity to deliver the keynote address. And I'll do this with a deal of reverence, humility, and honor. And as you've already been warmly welcomed, I want to add my voice to welcome all of you to Accra, a historic sanctuary of Pan-African liberation. And it is indeed a privilege for the opportunity accorded me to deliver the keynote address, because Ghana, and particularly Accra, was referred to in those days as the Mecca of Africa. Organizers of the conference could not have settled on a more appropriate venue. After the delegates at the third conference at Uganda overwhelmingly voted for Ghana to host the fourth conference. In fact, my good friend from Kenya recounted how Kenya offered to host it. But all the delegates said, when they heard that Ghana wanted to do so, that no, we want to go to Ghana. And we are happy to have you here, and I assure you, you will not regret taking that decision. Because this is the place that is most appropriate for this conference. Not just because of the historic reminder, but there are so many places of interest which I will urge you not to get yourself cocooned in the conference hall here, but to reach out. Even after the conference, I don't encourage you to leave. Stay back and enjoy the Ghana that we have today. So once again, you are most welcome. Let me emphasize this. This was the soil, Ghana, that the architecture of African self-determination was forged by forebears who understood that political independence was only the first step in a long walk to true freedom. Our forebears proclaimed that true emancipation lies in the complete restoration of our individual, cultural, and institutional autonomy. It is in furtherance of our long search for self-actualization that we gather at this fourth African Inter-Parliamentary Conference to confront a defining challenge of our generation: the preservation and economic distress or cultural alienation that we find ourselves confronted with. There's an urgent need for us to preserve, as we modernize and codify our identity in an increasingly globalized world. Distinguished participants, we all in our various indigenous areas have philosophical maxims deeply rooted in our indigenous heritage, which reflects the beauty and sweetness of life, as we say, which lie in its collective expression and our communal interconnectedness. We find our meaning, protection, and purpose within the sacred framework of the family. We all always say, I am because you are. And you are because we are. And our friends in South Africa will refer to it as Ubuntu. With this in mind, these our founding fathers decided to call Africa a family. They were not referring to it as a continent. They knew the importance of the family unit. So please, rewind your minds. You see the founding fathers marrying from across Africa. Not in their countries. And in fact, the first suitor to our first Prime Minister, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, was a beautiful lady from South Africa. Yes. When that did not work, because the lady saw that the man and his passion, he will not be available for her. So she resisted all the temptation to marry our first Prime Minister. And then he moved to Egypt to marry the young lady who had just finished the university. I recall what their first son said, Gamel Nkrumah, about the reason behind the marriage: to make Africa a family, to connect North Africa to the rest of the continent. And you saw that the president of Zimbabwe, His Excellency President Mugabe, married from Ghana. And His Excellency Hassan Banda came all the way from Malawi, lived in Ghana, studied in Ghana, opened a clinic at Kumasi, and practiced medicine for many years before Nkrumah prevailed on him to go back home, Nyasaland, to fight for the independence of that country. So this issue about family, making Ghana, Africa a family, started then. They knew the importance of the family unit, and that the only way to get us to unite, to form the United states of Africa was to have the family unit. Let me say that as legislators and chosen custodians of the people's sovereign will, our mandate is to ensure that the laws we enact, the budgets we approve, and the policies we oversee reflect this reality. True sovereignty does not begin at our national borders or within legislative chambers. It is born, nurtured, and sustained in the smallest unit of governance on earth, that is the family. If the family breaks under economic distress, as we are experiencing now, or cultural alienation, the state itself loses its structural integrity. Your Excellencies, we must approach the issue of sovereignty with maturity and legal precision. The long history they've given you about me is not to talk about my age. It's to talk about my experience. And so some people say that I'm an old man. I beg to disagree with them. You have made me younger than before, and I've had the opportunity to traverse the whole of the continent and to your countries. But the advantage our forefathers had was that they attended the same schools, and they had that interconnectedness and bond, and came together even after the Manchester Conference to fight for the independence of the continent. We only meet at conferences. And I must say that we have also done very, very well, even though we meet at conferences, not in schools. We have been able to bond, and many of those leaders gathered here have been with me at many, many conferences, and we are the best of friends. So we need to approach this issue of sovereignty with maturity and legal precision. The boundaries that we draw are just in our minds. They are not actual. There are different boundaries that we have to confront. Because on a daily basis, you know, across our borders, the families cut across. They do things together on a daily basis. Yet we call them boundaries. And we decided to put some structures there to rather obstruct the free flow of people, business, trade, and everything. And so we need to look at the issue of sovereignty with maturity and legal precision. Sovereignty is not a passive shield. It is an active, vigorous exercise of self-definition. The inherent right of a people to determine their social, economic, and moral destiny, free from external coercion or ideological conditionalities. I stand here as the chief of a kingdom which cuts across Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire. And we have festivals together. I stand here as a chief of another kingdom who's cast between Ghana and Burkina Faso. And I stand here as a chief of another kingdom which cast between Ghana, Togo, Benin, and part of Nigeria. So where are the borders? So when we examine the conditions and the constitutions of our African states, we find a remarkable jurisprudential consensus. Here in Ghana, Article 39 of the 1992 Constitution mandates that the state foster, preserve, and enrich our traditional cultural values while balancing these with the demands of modern development and fundamental human freedoms. Similar provisions exist across virtually every nation represented in this room. Those of you who have read the history of America, you have seen that America was also balkanized by the same European countries. And so New York was New Amsterdam. Well, that was the hold of the Dutch. So it was named New Amsterdam. It's when the British took over, and that was during the time of Duke of York, that they changed the Amsterdam to York. And so you now have New York. So it's not only Africa that was balkanized. America was equally balkanized. And you know where the French took over? You know the other countries and states that were shared. And you know why we have Maryland, named after Queen Elizabeth, who was believed to be a virgin because she became a queen at the age of around 15 years. And so she took over Maryland and Virginia, which were then captured by Columbus, all that area. And because they wanted that land to be separate from the other states, that is the only place you hear the two names. The founding father of America being Washington, and then the founder of the land being Columbus. And so you have what? Washington, D.C. Washington District of Columbus. So please, we should not allow this to keep us from forming the African family. Our constitutions empower Parliament to act as the bridge between traditional heritage and modern statutory law. When African parliaments legislate on the family, we fulfill a direct, legitimate constitutional command. In spite of this, we have in recent times witnessed a troubling narrative. Development assistance, trade agreements, natural resource agreements, and bilateral cooperation have been made contingent upon the adoption of legal and cultural paradigms alien to our social cultural fabric. I had a delegation from UK recently. When there was Roman Empire, they captured England. And those of you who have read literature, now they say, our time they were calling it English literature. Now they say literature in English. You have read Shakespeare's books, and you have come across a lot about the expeditions of Rome to England and how they used to describe England at that time. So it's not only peculiar to Africa. Those infiltrations started as far back as that time to England. I want to emphasize this matter. People trying to make so many things contingent upon the adoption of legal and cultural paradigms alien to our social cultural fabric. I want to emphasize that conditioning aid on the alteration of domestic laws to the disadvantage of beneficial countries violates the principle of sovereign equality enshrined in the United Nations Charter. And mind you, we have the Mandin Charter, which established the Sundiata Kingdom, Sundiata Keita, of 1235. 1235, that was the constitution that started the empire that was inherited by Mansa Musa, the richest person that ever lived on earth. And that is supposed to be coming from the a continent that is the poorest in the world. How? Contradictions in terms. The richest person that ever lived on earth from Africa. Even today, they refer to the richest person today in the world as who? Today, Elon Musk, and he's from Africa. Yet Africa is poor. Can that be true? Is Africa poor? It's Africans that are poor. Africa itself is rich and prosperous. So there are some things that are preventing Africans from enjoying their natural wealth that God so graciously gave to us. Let me assure everybody, we in Africa do not seek to dictate the internal legal frameworks of other continents. And we expect in turn the same respect for our sovereignty. Our laws must look like the people they are written to protect. Look at the beauty of the African colors. Look at the beauty of the African resources gathered here. Why should I be dressed in tropical Africa like somebody dressed in Finland, where a part of Finland called Lapland, for 6 months in every year, they don't see sunlight. I am blessed on a daily basis with sunlight. I have day and night. They will have about 6 months night and sometimes some months day. Why should we dress the same way? Christmas, you people celebrate some gentleman who goes around giving gifts. What's his name? Santa Claus. That is where Santa Claus comes from. That's why he's presented in that way, because of the cold weather. Please, we must reflect our identity, our uniqueness, who we are. So a law that does not resonate with the spirit, history, and moral conscience of the citizenry is a dead law. As African legislators, our loyalty must remain anchored to the mandates given to us by our electorates. There is an urgent need for us to redefine the African family structure in the 21st century. In trying to do so, we must avoid adopting an oversimplified or imported definition of the family. The Western concept of the nuclear family, isolated, individualistic, lonely, and strictly bounded, fails to capture the expansive, resilient, and self-sustaining genius of the African family. And so over there they say chop time, no friend. In Africa, it's a chop time that you show friendship. True or false? It's true. We're brought up to always reserve food for sudden visitors. Any woman that failed to do that, if the sudden visitor enters, you forfeit your food for the visitor. It's during chop time that you show friendship. Outside there, it's not the same. There's vast difference between our family units. In Africa, a family is an intergenerational web of mutual responsibility. Grandparents who carry our historical memory, aunts and uncles who share the burden of child care, and the community that rallies around the vulnerable are all known to us on a daily basis. It doesn't happen like that over there. This is not an archaic relic. It is our most successful indigenous social safety net. Family is a social security that cushioned our people through economic downturns, civic conflicts, and health crises when former state welfare systems were inadequate. And so, to quote one of our elders, he says, to protect the African family is to protect our primary economic engine, our first school of civic virtue, and our oldest institution of social security. That is the African family. Yet the family, as an institution, is on the severe structural strain. Economic vulnerability is disintegrating families faster than any external ideology. When parents are forced to migrate across borders or into overcrowded urban slums to survive, the family fractures. As educational deficit compounds it, and you know where we struggle these days, particularly the youth, all clamoring to leave our borders to find green pastures somewhere else. It compounds the problem. And this is because our systems alienate our youth from their roots. We are no longer creating an intergenerational chasm that tears or bounds families, but now a system that tears households apart from within. And an unregulated digital frontier passes through community filters, exposing our children to hyper-individualistic values before they can weigh them against their own. These days, age of how many months, the child is pushed into the factory of formal education. Parents are on their own ways. They hardly see the children. Schools are asked to mold them, but they are not well resourced. At the end of the day, the product becomes something else, not African. So if we wish to preserve the family, our interventions must move beyond rhetoric. We must recognize the family as a microeconomic stakeholder, creating tax incentives for households that care for elderly relatives and prioritizing national budget investment in affordable housing. National investment in child nutrition, and so also in maternal health care. True protection requires a shift from moral posturing to material empowerment. We find this synthesis captured in the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. And I want to refer you to Article 18 of the Charter, which states, and I quote, "The family shall be the natural unit and basis of society. It shall be protected by the state, who shall take care of its physical health and moral being. The state shall have the duty to assist the family, which is the custodian of morals and traditional values recognized by the community." The Charter does not treat rights and values as opposing forces. No, not the African Charter. The African Charter places the family at the center of the rights framework. If there are no human beings, how can you have human rights? You want us to adopt a system that will prevent the creation of human beings. And you say, when we are against it, you say we are violating human rights. Therefore, our language and legislation must reflect the highest standards of statesmanship and human compassion. Defending African family values must never be used as a pretext for state-sanctioned violence, oppression, or denial of basic human security to any citizen. The true strength of African culture does not lie in exclusion or brutality. It lies in our capacity for restoration, community care, and deep hospitality, what we in Ghana proudly call, I'm not going to speak other tongues I'm not very good at. So forgive me if I murder your language. Obake. Obake. You see, the first step has landed me in trouble. But I know this one, Akwaba. I also know Wezo, and I know Marhaba. My language, we say Yewayane. Our legislative frameworks must firmly protect the most vulnerable within the family ecosystem. We must pass laws that combat domestic violence, eliminate harmful practices that dehumanize our girls and women, end child labor, and secure the economic rights of widows and orphans. A family structure that tolerates the exploration of its own members cannot claim to be a custodian of genuine African values. By purging these internal injustices, we strengthen our moral authority to resist external interference. And therefore, I proceed to call for a regional legislative synergy and Pan-African action. Your Excellencies, the challenges we face are transnational. Therefore, our response must be collective. No single African nation can safeguard its legislative sovereignty in isolation. When one country stands alone against unfair external pressures, it risks economic isolation. But when we stand together as a continent of 1.4 billion people, our voice becomes immutable. We must actively utilize our regional legislative bodies, including Pan-African Parliament, the ECOWAS Parliament, the East African Legislative Assembly, the SADC Parliamentary Forum, and others, to build a unified legal shield. In fact, before the end of this month, I'll be in Morocco, Marrakesh, to meet not just the North Africa, but the whole Middle East at another very important conference on these matters. So, my good friend from Morocco, here I come. Ladies and gentlemen, it's really important for us to adopt the Charter. The formal adoption of an African Family Values Charter at this conference will advance this vision. Harmonizing family protection codes establishes a continental standard that prevents, and I quote, forum shopping, and resists external legal pressures, anchoring our societal structures in African realities. Again, through this collaborative Pan-African action, we ensure that our national sovereignties are structurally reinforced by an indigenous charter written by Africans for Africa. We need to further anchor the implementation of the Charter with the African Union's Agenda 2063, specifically Aspiration 5, which envisions an Africa with a strong cultural identity, common heritage, shared values, and ethics. I'm sure if you have a meeting with some of our founding fathers, particularly recently, His Excellency Yoweri Museveni, he can give you the background of almost every tribe in Africa, where we started, how we moved, and where we are today. He has all that, and I have the benefit of sitting with him and going through it. And he's written so many books, some he donated to me, and I've been reading them. It is very, very important for us to know that we have a common identity. We have a common heritage. We have shared values and our ethics. And they are very different from any other continent. And this is the most valuable assets to Africa. Luckily, we have the Agenda 2063. By anchoring implementation initiatives of Agenda 2063, our defense of family values becomes inextricably linked to our broader goals of integration, industrialization, and sustainable development. At this juncture, I pay a profound tribute to the visionary founding nations of this movement. There are many, but they are led by 9, especially Uganda. Uganda, your early commitment laid the foundations on which this continental coalition stands today. In particular, we owe an immense debt of gratitude to the Parliament and the people of Uganda. For 3 consecutive periods, as we've been told, Uganda kept the touch of this assignment aglow by serving as the dedicated host of this conference. In Ghana, you know about Women Aglo. Now we are having Uganda Aglo. Your unwavering institutional resilience and hospitality provided the vital sanctuary in which our shared ideals were protected, nurtured, and sustained during those foundational years. Africa thanks you for your steadfast leadership. In conclusion, it's important I emphasize the vision of a prosperous, self-determined African continent. Your Excellencies, Right Honorable Speakers, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we stand, as we've been told earlier, at a critical crossroads. The choices we make in our parliaments over the next few years will determine whether Africa enters the mid-21st century as a culturally distinct, self-determined global power, or as a fragmented continent that has battered its soul for superficial economic validation. This must ring a bell in the minds of all of us. And I want to plead with all of you to let us reject the false premises that modernization requires the erasure of our cultural identity. We can, and we have done it before. Before the onslaught, we had the Benin Empire, modernized empire, well-built with streets, with water systems, beautiful cities. And they came and bulldozed everything down flat to the ground. We've done it before. We can do it again. We can build advanced technological economies and participate at the highest levels of global finance while remaining profoundly African. We do not need to become a carbon copy of any civilizations to be civilized. If for anything at all, we see the Chinese with us here, whose economy is now more powerful than that of China. Have they lost their identity? Others were mentioned to you by our beloved and revered Archbishop. Yet, we are poor because of poverty of mind. Please, when you return to your respective capitals, let the resolutions we adopt here not gather dust in the archives of our secretariats. Don't forget that these days we have not built a reading culture in our children as our fathers did. Let them be translated into active bills, robust budgetary allocations, and rigorous oversight. Go home and tell your people that their representatives have resolved to protect the sanctuaries of their homes, the heritage of their ancestors, and the sovereignty of their nations. Let us march forward with courage, with intellectual clarity, and with unyielding faith in the genius of our people. And with this, I say, may God bless the African family, and may God bless our glorious continent. And on this note, I declare the 4th African Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty, and Values duly launched. I thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. The Chair of the Conference of Speakers and Presidents of African Legislatures, for the very inspiring and compelling call for coordinated Pan-African action, and for that matter, the adoption of the African Charter on Family Sovereignty and Values. Now, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for the Right Honorable Speaker. And now the tone is set for the official opening of the conference. And shortly before the Chief of Staff would do so, on behalf of His Excellency, the President of the Republic, ladies and gentlemen, let us enjoy a short musical performance by the official choir of Parliament, Voices of Democracy. democracy. Voices of Democracy for that splendid rendition of very patriotic songs. And the very first song that was performed, the meaning is calling for collective action for the prosperity and the well-being of the continent and nations rests on our collective action and collective efforts. At this point, now to the climax of the opening ceremony of the 4th African Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty, and Values. To do us the honors to do the official opening of the ceremony, on behalf of His Excellency, the President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, one of the most respected presidents in this continent and beyond, it is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce to you the Chief of Staff of the Republic, and he is in the person of Dr. Julius Debra, and himself, a distinguished Ghanaian statesman, administrator, politician, and accomplished entrepreneur whose career has spanned decades of public service, entrepreneurship, and national leadership. From his humble beginnings in Accra, Abuakotal in the eastern region to occupying some of the highest offices in Ghana's governance structure, his story reflects resilience, discipline, and a lifelong commitment to national development. Rising through the ranks of party organization, public administration, and executive governance, he has become a respected figure in both political, business, and development circles. The Honorable Dr. Julius Debra was raised in a modest environment and yet inspired to rise to the global stage, having transacted businesses across many countries, many continents, even from the age of 29. The Honorable Dr. Debra, highly educated, has earned his credentials from archaeology and sociology and all the way to the doctorate degree in politics. The Honorable Dr. Julius Debra entered politics out of a strong desire to serve and contribute to national development. He began his political journey within the National Democratic Congress as a parliamentary candidate for Suhum and had further risen to many notable capacities within the party and the nation. Now to public service and government service. Due to the competence and dedication of Dr. Julius Debra, it earned him several key appointments in government. In 2009, he was appointed Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Tourism Board, where he played a pivotal role in reforms that led to the transformation into the Ghana Tourism Authority. In 2013, he was appointed Eastern Regional Minister and reassigned as Greater Accra Regional Minister, and in 2015, he returned to serve once again as Eastern Regional Minister. And later in 2015, he was appointed the Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, where key among his initiatives was the National Sanitation Day, a nationwide initiative which he instituted so brilliantly to promote cleanliness, environmental hygiene, community participation, and management. Ladies and gentlemen, he is one of the rare statesmen who have had the distinguished opportunities of serving across 4 countries. Please, with a round of applause, make welcome the Chief of Staff of the Republic, the Honorable Dr. Julius Debra.
Thank you very much. I thought I was only supposed to read a speech for the President. Anyway. Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament of Ghana, Honorable Speakers of Sister African Parliament, distinguished members of Parliament and parliamentary delegates, members of our Council of State here present, our revered National House of Chief Members and Queens, our leaders of faith-based organizations here present, led by Archbishop Nicholas Duncan William, and Apostle General, I acknowledge all of you. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege and honor to join you this morning on behalf of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who extends his warm greetings and best wishes to all delegates gathered for this important conference. There are certain places on our continent where history still speaks with unusual clarity. Ghana is one of those places. It was from this land that the call for African freedom echoed across the continent. It was here that President Kwame Nkrumah challenged Africa to believe in itself. It was here that a newly independent nation demonstrated that Africans were capable of governing themselves and determining their own destiny. And it was from here that the dream of a united, confident, and self-determining Africa gained renewed momentum. Today, the same spirit brings us together. We meet at a consequential moment for our continent. Across Africa, conversations about sovereignty, identity, governance, and development are taking on renewed urgency. At the center of many of these conversations lies a simple but profound question: how do we preserve what is uniquely African while building the prosperous future our people deserve? That is why this gathering matters. It matters because the future of Africa will not be shaped only by our economies, our infrastructure, or our technologies. It will also be shaped by the values we choose to uphold, the institutions we strengthen, and the confidence with which we define our own path going forward. And there could hardly be a more fitting place for this conversation than Ghana, the historic gateway to African liberation, where Dr. Kwame Nkrumah boldly proclaimed that the African is capable of managing his own affairs. That declaration was not simply political. It was fundamental. It was a statement of confidence in Africa's ability to govern itself, define itself, and cut its own destiny. Today we gather in that same spirit. Before proceeding further, permit me on behalf of the President and the people of Ghana to express our sincere appreciation to His Excellency Yoweri Museveni, the President of Uganda, and the people of Uganda for the outstanding leadership they have demonstrated in nurturing this important continental initiative. Uganda's commitment to advancing conversations around African values, sovereignty, governance, and development has ensured that this conference continues to grow in relevance and impact. As Ghana assumes the honor of hosting this 4th edition, we do so with humility, responsibility, and a firm commitment to advancing the vision that has brought us here together. Distinguished delegates, the theme for this conference, Consolidating Parliamentary Consensus, Advancing the African Charter on Family Values and Sovereignty, invites us to reflect on two concepts that lie at the heart of Africa's future. That's the family and sovereignty. Both are fundamental and very important. The family remains the primary building block of our societies. It is where values are transmitted, where identity is formed, and where communities find resilience during difficult times. Across Africa, families continue to perform social and economic functions that in many parts of the world have long been transferred entirely to the state. At the same time, sovereignty remains the bedrock upon which nations build their future. It is the right of a people to determine their own priorities, shape their own institutions, and organize their own societies in ways that reflect their history, culture, and aspirations. For this reason, the work before you carries profound significance. Across our continent, parliaments remain amongst the most important guardians of democratic legitimacy. Government may propose policy but it is through Parliament that national aspirations are debated, refined, and transformed into enduring laws. The decisions taken by legislators often outlive administrations and shape the trajectory of nations for generations yet unborn. Your task, therefore, extends beyond the drafting of a charter. It is to build consensus around principles that can strengthen our societies whilst preserving the values that have sustained our communities through centuries of change. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, true sovereignty cannot exist only in constitutional text or political declaration. It must be expressed in practical outcomes. A sovereign nation must be capable of feeding its people, educating its children, protecting its vulnerable, creating opportunities for its youth, and financing its own development priorities. Across Africa, our citizens do not judge sovereignty by the speeches we make. They judge it by whether the lights stay on, whether jobs are available, whether schools educate, whether hospitals heal, and whether government keeps their promises. The ultimate expression of sovereignty is the capacity of a nation to solve the problems of its people. That is why discussions about cultural sovereignty must be accompanied by discussions about economic sovereignty. We must build economies capable of supporting the social systems we seek to protect. We must strengthen domestic production, support African enterprises, expand regional trade, and create pathways to prosperity that are anchored in our own priorities and realities. Dependency, in whatever form it appears, ultimately weakens sovereignty. Distinguished delegates, as we discuss family values, we must also acknowledge the ideological and cultural debates taking place across the world today. Africa does not fear engagement with the world. We welcome dialogue, exchange, and cooperation, but engagement must never come at the expense of our right to define our own social and cultural norms. Many Africans continue to hold deeply rooted beliefs regarding marriage, family formation, parenthood, and community life. These beliefs are products of centuries of life lived, experience, cultural evolution, and spiritual convictions. Our responsibility is not to dictate how others should live. It is to ensure that our own laws, educational systems, and public institutions remain reflective of the values and aspirations of our societies. We preserve those values through strong families, responsible leadership, and institutions that reinforce social cohesion and national identity. Honorable delegates, allow me to anchor these principles within the Ghanaian experience. Our social fabric has been shaped by generations of communal living, mutual responsibility, and respect for traditional authority. The National House of Chiefs, Queen Mothers, faith leaders, and community elders continue to play an indispensable role in preserving social stability and transmitting values across generations. Their contributions remain vital in an era of rapid social and technological change. Preserving culture requires more than rhetoric. It requires policy to back it up. It means supporting indigenous languages, investing in our creative industries, empowering traditional institutions, and ensuring that the next generation grows up with a strong sense of identity and belonging. Cultural confidence must be cultivated intentionally. Ladies and gentlemen, we must also confront the economic pressure facing African families today. Rapid urbanization, changing labor markets, and rising living costs have placed enormous strain on households across our continent. Family-centered policies must therefore become a priority for governments. This means strengthening social protection programs for vulnerable households. It means supporting maternal and child health. It means expanding opportunities for decent work. and it means pursuing economic strategies that allows families to thrive together rather than forcing separation through hardship and migration. Strong families are built not only on values, but also on opportunity. Honorable members, aspirations alone do not transform societies. Progress requires discipline, consensus, and the courage to follow through on commitment. That same principle applies to work before this conference. The success of the African Charter will ultimately depend not only on what is written, but on how effectively its principles are translated into practical action within our respective countries. The true test of leadership is implementation. Distinguished delegates, we cannot discuss the future of African family without speaking directly about the African youth. Our young people are growing up in a world where information moves instantly across borders and where competing ideas are only a click away. The answer is not isolation. The answer is confidence. The greatest threat to African values is not technological nor globalization. It is hopelessness. A young person who sees opportunity in their own country becomes a stakeholder in the future of his country. A young person who sees no future becomes vulnerable to every form of disillusionment. Our ultimate defense of African values lies in our ability to provide quality education, create dignified jobs, expand economic opportunities, and ensure that every young African can see a future worth believing in. When young people believe in their future, they become the strongest custodians of their society's value. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude with a message to our friends and partners around the world. Africa remains committed to international cooperation, mutual respect, and constructive engagement. We value partnership that advance development, peace, and prosperity. But we also affirm a simple principle: Africa must retain the right to shape its own future. Just as we respect the sovereign choices of others, we expect our own choices to be respected. The strength of the global community lies not in uniformity, but in mutual respect among diverse people and cultures. Distinguished delegates, history will not judge us by the resolutions we pass alone. It will judge us by whether we had the courage to preserve what is valuable, the wisdom to reform what must change, and the confidence to define Africa's future on Africa's own terms. Our continent does not lack talent, it does not lack resources, it does not lack conviction. What Africa requires is sustained leadership, stronger institutions, and shared determination to build societies that reflect the aspirations of our people. Let this conference strengthen our resolve to protect our families, deepen our sovereignty, and expand opportunities for the next generation of Africans. Let us leave Accra with a renewed commitment to build an Africa that is rooted in its value, secure in its identity, confident in its institutions, and master of its own destiny. On behalf of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama and the people of Ghana, I wish you fruitful deliberations and a successful conference. And while your work here will be demanding, I encourage you to take a moment to experience the warmth, hospitality, and vibrant spirit of our country. Akwaba, Obake, Miawezolo. Thank you. The future of Africa will not be written for us. It will be written by us. May God bless our nations. May God bless Africa. May God bless our homeland, Ghana. Thank you.
A round of applause for the Chief of Staff of the Republic of Ghana, the Honorable Dr. Julius Deborah for the very bold statement. With a sad determination, let us define Africa's future on Africa's own terms. Another round of applause for the Chief of Staff. At this juncture, very important, we're going to take a rendition of the conference anthem, and you shall find the lyrics of the conference anthem on the last page of the brochures available to us. Let us invite the only official parliamentary choir, the Voices of Democracy, as we take the anthem. Oh, Esther Addo. Let us receive with a round of applause Esther Addo as she leads us to take the conference anthem. Please, with a round of applause. Let us all humbly as we take the conference anthem.
The Right Honorable Speaker, Delegate of the Parliament of Africa, this anthem is dedicated to the 4th conference by the host speaker, Speaker of Ghana's Parliament, the Right Honorable Alban Babin. He hopes that every one of us embraces this anthem and own it. Thank you. Africa, arise with strength and grace, united as one in every place, guarding the values our fathers gave, building a future strong and brave. From every nation, near and far, we gather beneath one shining star, with wisdom, courage, faith and mind, we stand for truth and what's right. Oh, Africa, united we stand, protecting the future of our land. Together, one voice, one hope, one destiny, Africa's the future. Oh, Africa, united we stand, protecting the future of our land. Together, one voice, one hope, one destiny, Africa's the future. Oh, Africa, united we stand, protecting the future of our land. Together, one voice, one hope, one destiny, Africa's the future. Through every culture, tribe and tongue, a sacred song shall still be sung. The strength of hope, the bond of love, the wisdom of our Father's sky, hope of you. Works by side, keeping Africa's future right through faith and unity. We protect our identity. Oh, Africa, united we stand, protecting the future of our land. Together, one voice, one hope, one destiny, Africa's the future. Oh, Africa, united we stand, protecting the future of our land. Together, one voice, one hope, one destiny, Africa's the future.
Thank you very much, Esther Addo, for the beautiful rendition of the conference anthem. Now, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let us humbly resume our seats. Indeed, O Africa, united we stand, protecting the future of our land. Together, one voice, one hope, one destiny. Africa is the future. At this point, would like to acknowledge every delegate from the continent and to acknowledge the presence of representative of the chairman of the Council of State, member of the Council, Excellency Cletus Avoka, and all members of the Council of State. We acknowledge the presence of the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, Her Excellency Iman Adil, Ambassador of the Kingdom of Morocco to Ghana, and all members of the Corps present. Two announcements. All too soon, we're coming to the end of the opening ceremony. We have very impactful sessions to follow after this opening ceremony. And so right from here, we shall proceed for photography and the ceremonial entrance of the Parliament. And proceeding from the ceremonial entrance after the photography, led by the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbain, and joined by the Honorable Chief of Staff, His Eminence, the Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, Council of State, members of the Diplomatic Corps, and all visiting Speakers of Parliament and Senate Presidents, we shall proceed to the forecourts of the Speakers' Block for the opening of exhibition. And while at it, lunch and refreshments are provided for all delegates at the foyer of this premises, and we do so comfortably right beneath this level, and we do so comfortably to return in time by 2:45 respectfully to continue the next sessions. We thank you very much. Yadase. Akbenami, merci beaucoup. Now before the anthem, we want to close with a prayer. And to lead us in the closing prayer, it is my honor to invite my respected colleague and friend, the Member of Parliament for Daboya Mankarigu, the Honorable Shaibu Mohammed, to lead us through prayer at the stage. Thank you very much.
May we so respectfully be upstanding. Right Honorable Speaker, may I crave your indulgence to stand on existing protocols to do this closing prayer. I stand in the big shoes of the National Chief Imam, who unavoidably cannot be present here to do these honors. While at it, he has asked that as we deliberate into the following sessions, we should be mindful of the content of Chapter 18 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. He's also asked that as we deliberate, we pay attention to the core tenets of the draft African Charter on family, sovereignty, and values. And these core tenets are family and cultural identity, national and cultural sovereignty, healthcare and education, and importantly, oversight. May we now, on this note, say the opening prayer of the Holy Quran, and those who can say it will do that together. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So as we close, we do acknowledge the presence of the Chairman of the Christian Council of Ghana, Reverend Nina Thompson, and the Apostle General of the Royal House Chapel International, Apostle General Sam Kranche Ankara, and the former General Secretary of the Christian Council, Reverend Dr. Opuni Frimpong, and all eminent clergy duly present. Distinguished guests, we shall remain standing as dignitaries led by the Speaker of Parliament and the Chair of the Conference on the President's Speakers of African Parliaments, Right Honorable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagme, leads the recession.
Come African Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty and Values, happening right here in Ghana. Tonight, the Right Honourable Speaker is pleased to meet or host all of you to a cocktail. And as per our tradition, it's only appropriate that we invite the host speaker to welcome all of us formally to this interactive session before we break into the cocktail part of the program. And so, Right Honourable Speaker, we're most delighted. These are your colleagues from the different parts of the African continent who have gathered here this evening, and they are in your hands, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Let me, on behalf of the Parliament of Ghana, the leader, the clerk and staff, warmly and happily welcome all of you to Accra, Ghana. You can see that I'm visibly happy seeing you here. And I assure you, I'll do all I can to visit you after this place. And I'm sure, once again, we'll be having a rendezvous, at the usual meetings. But we are here, as we've been told, on the basis of an initiative by all of us on this conference, the African Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty, and Values. We are the founding members. And so I think it is proper that as founding members, we had the first meeting, we refresh ourselves, we as usual have tete-a-tete looking at our vision before we commence the main conference tomorrow. Bienvenue. Marhaba. Afwan. We really do not have much to do here, but just to meet and see how we could go down to break, we say, bread and share some wine to loosen and refreshing ourselves for tomorrow. And so I can see that just as I said, we are just to meet, know that we are all in, know each other again, break the ice, go down, refresh, and prepare for tomorrow. That's the main purpose of this evening's get-together. And so once again, I welcome all of you. I will give the opportunity to my Deputy Speaker who represented me at the third conference and to give us a feel of it before maybe somebody gives us the status of the draft charter, and then what are our expectations as the outcomes of this fourth conference. Then after that, any other business before we get down to have a bite. Once again, you are welcome.
Let me hand over to Sarah to give us a brief overview in respect of what actually transpired in Entebbe for the third conference.
Right Honorable Speaker, Uganda held the past three conferences, and out of those the conferences we had the Entebbe Declaration, 1, 2, and the very third one that was held in May. We actually felt that proceeding to hold a conference without a legal document that binds us as a people of Africa will be holding conferences in futility. And out of that conference, we actually came up with a draft charter and a communique, and this communique was actually shared with all the parliaments that attended. And the specific issue was the adoption, was the draft charter, which we tasked the Secretariat to actually put together, and I'm glad that this document was widely circulated in both English, French, and also the Portuguese language. So I strongly believe that all the parliaments actually have this draft charter. And Mr. Speaker, I don't think I should go into details of that draft charter. But the draft charter has key sections that may be for the benefit of the members. I would like to state that this draft charter has objectives, one of which is to recognize, preserve, and promote the African family, African sovereignty, and values. And in this draft charter, we are actually looking at key areas, one of which is food security, because we realize that in the last conference that we held, a key statement was made that he who controls your food will actually control you. So it is important for the African people to ensure that we preserve our indigenous seeds, but also pick agricultural practices that will be helpful to the population. We also talk about the economic sovereignty, which is a key issue. You all know that Africa is well endowed, Mr. Speaker, with various natural resources. Unfortunately, you still find that even with these natural resources, we are unable to utilize these natural resources to benefit our own people. And the colonial masters are still exploiting these natural resources to the detriment of the African nations. We are looking at health sovereignty, Mr. Speaker, because that is also a key area. You realize that currently, as we speak, the African sovereignty over health was actually under attack with promotion of things like the comprehensive sexuality education, issues around abortion, and this gender farming, technology. And then, of course, the other area that we critically look at in the charter is the education sector. We need to ensure that the African education systems are actually systems that promote skills, but also promote our values other than foreign values, because you realize that our education is equally not centered around our own cultures and values. So briefly, in a nutshell, we hope that this African Charter will be discussed in detail at this conference and hopefully adopted for transmission to the next level. So I think briefly, out of that we had the Entebbe Declaration, and of course in that was the African Charter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think members were there, and I don't think we are coming to discuss any lengthy thing. This is just an overview of it, and I think has also dovetailed into the status of the draft charter. So I don't think we have much to discuss now.
We just want reaction from you, maybe reception or your hotel rooms or other things we think we can make available to you to make you comfortable, to have a rest, because at home we know the pressures and the stress on members. So it's not only here for you to conference. Maybe as you go through the program, there are some sightseeing, some other places for relaxation. And I have young men and women here. They can relax you more. So at least let us hear from you the feel, the first impression. That's why we gave this opportunity for AOB. My lady from Sierra Leone, I can see your smiles.
Ghana is not a strange country. Us from Sierra Leone, Ghana is a hub. you cannot go anywhere without passing through Ghana. So I keep coming to Ghana on and off, on and off. I was in Ghana like a week ago. I did not even call my friend because I know I'm coming back. So, and today, upon arrival, I have a very good walk with the parliamentary staff. I'm so grateful to them. And I know we'll do so many activities, so some site visitations, because in Uganda, I am not happy, but thank God for the life of my friend. She was so active, but you know, us parliamentarians, if we say yes, yes is a very big yes, our no is a big no. So you speakers, you have to be very conscious of us. Yeah. Because if we say yes, it's a yes, and if we say no, it's a big no. So that's just what happened in Uganda. But we want to thank God for her life. She called me 2 days ago and asked me if I'm coming. I said yes. And we have a lengthy discussion. And then I asked about the parliament. I said, no, I'm not there anymore. Your people take me off. It's not the president, but they vote me out. And few names were named, but I can't call them here. But I want to wish us a fruitful deliberation in West Africa. I'm an West African. The East African sessions were so good, my brother can attest. We have a deputy speaker who took the lead in the dancing competition. He's not here anymore. Tomorrow we'll remember him, Kazombo. We miss Kazombo so dearly. Kazombo is dead. Yes, we miss Kazombo so dearly. We'll give him a standing ovation tomorrow to remember him, because we have a forum, and we mourn him so dearly, and we want to send our condolences to you, the Malawians, on behalf of the African Charter Group. We miss Kazombo Soleil, but that's life. May his soul and the souls of all faithful Africans rest in peace.
Without much ado, if with your kind permission, we may proceed to continue the conversation at dinner. That's acceptable to everybody? Or I should put the question? No. Those who are in favor, say aye. Those who are against, say no. No. The ayes have it.
It is the 4th African Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty and Values. Be there.
Welcome to the 4th African Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty and Values 2026. Obake.
Africa rises to shape its future through family values, unity and sovereignty. The 4th African Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty and Values is here.
This is a conference that is supposed to bring together leaders from every corner of Africa to come together to agree on and also to look at the best ways forward to implement laws and policies to protect what belongs to Africa. When I say what belongs to Africa, I mean to look at African culture, okay, to look at in like family values, etc., which is Africa, as against adopting wholesale methods or policies or laws or ideas from other jurisdictions which might not work well for us. Because, you know, we have United Nations own structure when it comes to human rights. Then we have the African Charter, which looks at our family values or the community as well as the individual. But then when you talk about human rights with the UN, it's just the individual that is dealt with. It is so important because, you see, the timing with this conference couldn't have been right, because this is just around the time when we have looked at the Human Family Values Bill, which is also known as the LGBTI bill. It is perfect. I think that we all need to participate as African leaders, particularly parliamentarians, so that we can create the awareness, particularly for the LGBTI law, and also to understand that it is important for us to safeguard our own values as Africans. You do not adapt values, etc., from other jurisdictions to implement them here in Africa. It wouldn't work. We have our own values, and that is what this conference is going to look at. So I am excited about it, very, very excited.
I'm looking forward to hearing from key stakeholders on how to strengthen and preserve our cultural identity and family values as Africans. Amid growing technological innovations, it is important to focus on key policy and governance actions that can position the African family and thus Africa as a whole on a bright path in the areas of education, health, the economy, among others. At the same time, it also calls for stronger ethical standards, responsible digital governance, and safeguarding of citizens from harmful digital exploitation.
With this conference, first and foremost, my thought will be, or my invitation will be, that there will be practical discussions, you understand, and a policy direction for the African value and family value and sovereignty. Also, I hope that this gathering will strengthen the dialogue on the family values and the family value institutions and preserving our cultural identity. If we meet the talk and in the end we are not able to get a formal endorsement for the family value sovereignty framework, then that would have been a failure for me. And so my expectation is that we'll be able to do that. And also, fourthly, I think they should be able to launch a permanent African Charter to be able to deal with our family values and our identity. You know, more so, at the end of it all, we should be able to have stronger communities and family-based values that runs across the entire continent. So these will be my 5 expectations come on the 3rd of June.
Under the theme, Consolidating Parliamentary Consensus, Advancing the African Charter on Family Values and Sovereignty, featuring distinguished African leaders and policymakers.
It is going to be looking at family values. It is going to be highlighting family values, okay? It is going to create the awareness for every African, for every parliamentarian here in Ghana to know that family values are important. Family values are values that have been with us from the inception. These are values that our great-grandfathers, whether Muslim, whether Christian, whether atheist, whether priest or Malam or whatever, traditionalists, at least here in Ghana, we believe that these are our values. Very, very, very important. If you move away from these values, or if you get them adulterated, I don't think you can say that you are a proper African. This is what defines us. When you go elsewhere, there are other values that defines them as maybe Germans or maybe Greeks